Hello, and thanks for joining me on another long-term real-world review. I've been dragging my feet on this review, but in the age of COVID-19, I think indoor training may be more relevant than in the past, and also I've got lots of time to kill myself. Today, I'm talking about my very long-term experience with two Wahoo Kickrs. Now, I'm not going to read the box or explain their features and changes over the years. I'm sure you can get that elsewhere. These are not new products. Instead, my two key takeaways are: one, I love them and have no regrets, and two, mine were terribly inaccurate and they shouldn't be your power source if you take things like Zwift too seriously. On that note, I applied to be a beta tester for the early days of Zwift. I was initially declined with a basic trainer, but I read between the lines and realized they wanted users to test with smart trainers. With the Kickr as a brand new device in 2014, I found a retailer in Toronto with stock. At the time, the Kickr was more than my bike, and it was quite an investment. Despite the cost, it was one of the best purchases in my life, and I love Zwift, and I love how the Kickr works with it. Absolutely no regrets. Now, at the time, I did have a PowerTap G3 hub-based power meter on my bike. As the 2014 summer drew to a close, I was trying to hit a personal peak power record of breaking 1200 watts. I always fell short at around 1150. When I transferred to Zwift and the Kickr for winter, I was thrilled when I immediately broke the 1200 watt barrier. That was my first sign of just how inaccurate the power numbers were with the Wahoo Kickr units. Although I was stronger when the next summer rolled around, my outdoor numbers were noticeably lower than my indoor numbers. Fast forward another 2 years, and I get some PowerTap P1 pedals. I can now monitor my power in two places when the 2016 indoor season came. This made the discrepancy perfectly clear. I started to enter my average and peak power for each ride from the Kickr and P1 pedals on a spreadsheet. The Kickr was consistently 13% higher than my PowerTap pedals. Now, of course, my vanity made me question the PowerTap pedal since it was the lower number. I even became a bit of a nuisance to PowerTap's tech support for a while. However, the PowerTap P1 pedals match perfectly with the PowerTap G3 hub, making the Kickr the anomaly. Fast forward another 2 years, and we have the release of the Wahoo Kickr Climb around the Christmas 2018 season. I'm a gadget guy and I want it. Unfortunately, the Climb doesn't work with older models of the Kickr, and I needed to upgrade to the 2018 model. To its credit, the 2014 Kickr is still functioning perfectly. Moreover, it's still kicking after 6 years, as I still loan it out to friends. So now I have a 2018 Kickr, and there's an immediately noticeable loss in the power numbers. I create another spreadsheet, and now we're talking 13% below the PowerTap numbers and 26% below the 2014 Kickr. That means if I'm riding 100 watts according to the P1 pedals, the 2014 would read 113 watts, and the 2018 Kickr would show about 87 watts. Now, some of you may know the 2018 Kickr was notorious for breaking down. Within 2 weeks of delivery, my 2018 was making a grinding noise, and I sent it in for a warranty replacement. A couple weeks later, another Kickr arrives, but I'm seeing the same low power numbers. Within a week, that Kickr fails by not sending power or speed data. Both problems were reported to be known issues by Wahoo, and to their credit, they took complete ownership of the problem. Not only did they replace them quickly, but I respected the Wahoo CEO, who did an interview at the time with DC Rainmaker explaining their problems. So, we're now talking February 2019, and I'm on my third 2018 model year Kickr. I'm thrilled to see power readings completely in line with my PowerTap pedals for the month or so that I'm still riding indoors. I start riding outside, put my Kickr away for the summer, problem solved, right? Wrong. I get set up 5 months ago for the winter of 2019, and the Kickr is showing those low power numbers again. I upgrade the firmware, do the spin down tests, and everything on the troubleshooting page. No improvement. And I'll be honest, I didn't feel any need to contact Wahoo support over this, primarily because I had the option to give up and use my PowerTap P1s as the power source. And that even made sense to maintain consistency regardless of whether I was riding indoors or out. Now, it's been months since I've looked at the Kickr power numbers, but I just confirmed results before finalizing this script, and the numbers are indeed still low. Now, the Wahoo devices are technically accurate in their own way because they are consistent. The numbers don't vary widely from their base. It's just that the base is 13% high or low depending on whether I'm using the 2014 Kickr or the 2018 Kickr. That makes the devices perfectly good for personal training and record keeping. A 10% improvement in your performance is still true regardless of the device, as long as that device is consistent with itself. The problem comes if you are using the Wahoo Kickr as your primary and only power source for Zwift racing. You may unknowingly be doping or hobbling your performance against others. I personally know my strengths and weaknesses, and I know where I fit in the crowd. I feel the power tap numbers are right and translate with where I'd fit in the real world, with where I'd fit in a Zwift race. However, if I wanted to cheat, I could get on my 2014 Kickr for that 13% power boost I had been unaware of for those first 2 years. So everyone should keep that in mind before taking a Zwift race too seriously. To conclude, I'll just say that this is my only experience with smart trainers. It's with these two Wahoo Kickrs. I didn't have a choice back in 2014 as an early adopter, and I didn't really have a choice in 2018 because I wanted to use this with the Kickr Climb. Although I had no regrets with Wahoo and would recommend them, you should shop around to see what smart trainer works for you and your budget. Thanks for joining me. I hope that video helped you. If it did, remember to subscribe to be alerted of new reviews.